Guys, welcome to Strength Addicts on Instagram Live, powered by IML. Make your mark with ironmaclabs.com today. Also, I want to go ahead and remind you guys that on Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I've got the one and only Greg Valentino joining me here at Strength Addicts. And tonight, of course, I got my man PJ Braun, who I have not done an Instagram Live with since he went away. And I'm super, super excited to do this. I had a script, like how Joe Biden has a script. I had a script and I left it at the office. I sent it to him and he wrote me back. But in any event, we're just going to go ahead and we're knock this one out of the ballpark. And we're just going to talk, guys. We're going to talk. If you guys have questions, I'm going to be sure to be looking at the questions. I want to say what's up to John Benavides, my man. I want to say what's up to GK Fit 20. I can't say your name. We got Hose, Bros Before Hose, right? I don't know if that says Hose or not. We got PJ Braun in the house here. Let me bring him on, because he's got somewhere to be, actually. Now, how do I do this? I haven't done an Instagram Live in forever and a day. PJ, can you request to come on live here? And I think I'll just... And again, missed the morning Q&A. I saw it just at the tail end of it. I was in court. What up?
Hey, how you doing?
Man, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. We've been texting on and off here and there, but just let some people jump on here. So you look fantastic.
Thank you. Still got some weight to lose, but I feel good.
Yeah, I never say that to guys. You look fantastic, but you look fantastic. So where shall we start? I know you've got to go somewhere with Marissa, so I think we have exactly half an hour, right? Okay, cool. So far you've been out, you've done a ton of interviews. You've done the podcast with the DJ podcast. You've done, am I allowed to say the one that's coming out soon?
Yeah.
With the G, Generation Iron, right? You've had Megalicious Cookies. You've hooked up with Jason Genova. Yes. You've done it all.
I got a lot to do still, but I'm starting to do stuff now. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Fantastic. And you're in really good shape too. I know you were kind of like under wraps a little bit when you first, when did you actually get out?
Well, I got sent to the halfway house.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that was in Dania Beach, Florida in the end of October. And I stayed there until a little bit after Thanksgiving. And then they moved me to home confinement, house arrest until May. And I just got out on probation in May.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And I saw Johnny Bravo. I don't know if that is the Johnny Bravo. I love his work. I don't know if that's actually him or not. But I've heard people say, though, that I've heard people say that a halfway house is actually worse than prison. Is that true?
Yeah, the halfway house was crazy. There was so much drugs everywhere, and like everybody. I guess the one cool thing about the halfway house is you're allowed to have a cell phone, but everyone just talks like on FaceTime loud as hell all night, so you can't get any sleep. There's smoke everywhere. It was the halfway house was rough.
Definitely. And then I guess there's just so much to talk about, but I know that, when it all happened, I was as surprised as the next guy, because you were going to fight the case to the very end, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then your former partner at the 11th hour kind of just...
Yeah, that's partly true. What really happened was, in the beginning, so there was a group of people from Blackstone Labs that got indicted.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also a bunch of other little people that had sold products of ours before and whatnot, that got indicted also. Now, some of those guys just started working out deals right from the start. And on our side, we were like, whatever, they can do whatever they want over there. Because what they wanted those guys to do was that they had a number of different things going on. But what they wanted, like some of the online retailers to say, was that we sold them the products past the banned date. Because the thing was, if I sold a customer 1,000 units, right, they may sell that for the next 3 years. How can I control that if I sold it to them before the ban date and they're still selling it? So they wanted people to say that we sold it after the ban date. So you had that going on first, but we didn't care about that. We still felt good about the case all the way up till the end. And then it was actually my vice president of my company, who he was the one who actually went and worked out a deal. He left the joint defense. And when he did that, the other pieces started to fall apart. And that's when, Aaron after that. So Aaron actually lasted all the way until the end. So it really wasn't until David and the other guys started falling off that he fell off also.
Right. And but in other words, just to clarify, you never testified against anybody. Your testimony didn't send anyone to prison or anything like that, right?
No, so there was two people that didn't cooperate, myself and James Bacozzi. James Bacozzi went to trial. He believed that he was just a sales guy, just doing his job. And I actually believe that too. I felt that James was given a raw deal. He shouldn't have been a part of it at all. But for me, I signed a statement saying that I would refuse to talk about anybody. I'm not testifying against James. I'm not going in on any other cases. So basically, they call that not cooperating. So the prosecutors were pretty hard on me because of
And
that.
Aaron too.
No, Aaron cooperated with them. Aaron did what they wanted and worked on other stuff. That's how he got a lesser time. But that
Interesting.
was they offered him a different scenario. People always ask me. I'm just going to get right into it. Like, am I mad at Aaron? But at the time, yeah, I was. I felt like he kind of screwed me. But once I got to prison, I started like just having time with my thoughts and thinking about it. It's easy for me to say that I wouldn't do that, but I'm also not a parent. And I've had parents tell me you do anything for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got 3 young kids, and the prosecutors were like, listen, you want to see your kids grow up? You know, work with us on this. And so I've let all that go. I'm not mad at Aaron. I hope he's not mad at me for the fights that we've had before that. It is what it is. It's all behind me now.
And again, I mean, that's very gracious of you. That's really big of you, honestly. And I hate these what if scenarios. Like, what if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you and Aaron had fought the case the whole way through, because James only, I heard this on another podcast, but James only got convicted because, it,
Yeah. So they hit us with like 11 charges, but James beat every single charge except for the ones that David and Aaron had testified on. So, I mean, that says a lot, I think.
yeah,
To
yeah,
me, I
definitely.
really wanted to fight all the way to the end, but the attorneys, once those guys fell off, they were like, you're going to have a hard time winning at this point. It's much, much more difficult to convince a jury that those guys are lying and not you. And my old VP, he was offering all sorts of other information that had nothing to do with the case. He was like, PJ got everybody in the office on steroids, which I got everybody on HRT. You know what I mean? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You see a lot of these sales leaders talk about getting on HRT now. I just thought it would be great for everyone. I still feel that way. Had nothing to do with the case, but in a case where they're looking at us as steroid dealers, right? That obviously is not something that we would want in front of the jury. So even though they couldn't use that information, it was all just a mess of stuff that was coming out.
I mean, I hope he doesn't mind that I use his name, but if we're selling like Dust X or something, for example, who would you rather buy it from? A guy like me or someone like Chris Luke that's shredded? I mean, you know what I mean? It's about credibility, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, speaking of you wanting to fight, I mean, can't not mention Jared Wheat, your partner. I mean, we're talking about pumping just tons of money,
Yeah.
unconditional support. I mean, how important was he? Because as an attorney, I know how expensive lawyers are,
Yeah.
and I have never done a case like the one you were in.
Well, Jared is the ultimate fighter. So he has a very old fashioned, you do what's right mindset, and he believes in stand your ground. If you stand for something that's right, you're standing your ground, and he will fight for what he believes is right. So in the Blackstone case, now he's the entire owner, but at the time being majority owner, he could have said, because he wasn't part of the indictment, I don't want to support the legal fees for this. And our legal fees stretched to over $4 million during this time frame. But he supported Blackstone paying the legal fees, and if it wasn't for him, we would have no chance at all. He got the best lawyers involved. Even when it was time for Blackstone to take its corporate trial, he actually went to represent Blackstone and paid the fine for Blackstone. So I wouldn't have been able to do that. I had lost everything. So for him, I think it made the government even angrier at him, because he's always fighting the government because he stands up for what's right. But he did what he felt was right, and he also, I think it's important to say this, taking the business out of it, just friend to friend. He said to me, I wanted you to see what a loyal friend will do, what a true loyal friend will do, because there aren't a lot of us left. And he respected his words were, I respect that you took this like a man the whole way. I want to show you there are other people out there like that. And he has never left my side through all this. He's been like a coach, a mentor, a brother, still like to this day, like getting home, he's one of the few people that never left my side through all this.
And again, not to get into all his business or anything, but his usual approach with companies is he buys them out completely. With Blackstone, it was very unique that you were able to stay on there, and not only stay on there as a partner, but as the president. I mean, he really believed in you. You know what I mean? I think that I think you'd have to be almost an idiot not to recognize that you basically. I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble. You do not work for Blackstone. You do not have any connection to Blackstone, but you are Blackstone. I mean, at the end of the day, people think Blackstone, they think PJ, and that's just it.
So I'm legally, according to the government, at this current status, not allowed to be a part of Blackstone Labs at all. I can't, even if I was on paper 100% owner, I can't have any affiliation with Blackstone at all whatsoever. So
I mean, I guess
that's
the government's going to have to indict all of us because, like I said, when people think Blackstone, they think of you. That's completely out of your
mhm,
power. You've been away for what, 2 years, 2+ years.
yeah.
People will always think of you with Blackstone. So I guess, but I think what I also wanted to say as well is just the fact that, like, for the future, what do you have planned? Because there's just so much you can do. I mean, you have done zilch with Blackstone, yet you've done all these podcasts. I mean, it's got to be crazy. When you went away, MD was still a publication. I would have loved to have seen it stay online, but it's like, so what, you did podcasts, you wrote articles, you did the ebook during the pandemic, you did the Braun Army meetup. I mean, you could, you could do your personal training, and that could be the new Braun Army, your lifestyle clients. I mean, what are you thinking about doing?
This past few days I've been spitballing ideas like crazy, because I truly believed that we were going to win this last week and the judge was going to allow me to go back to work. I had been praying on it every night, and I really just had a good feeling about it. um, and this entire time, the past 2 years, I've done a lot of praying, and God has really taken care of me. He's really had my back, especially in some precarious situations in prison. So when I got the news on Wednesday, I was so surprised that I truly didn't have a true plan B yet. So there's a lot that I think that I can do, but I have to have a meeting with my probation officer to see what I'm exactly allowed to do, because I have much different, what are called special conditions of my probation, than the other guys from my case, because I didn't cooperate. So the rest of the guys are allowed to work in the supplement industry and do all these other things that I'm not allowed to do at this time. So I really want to stay around bodybuilding no matter what. If I'm not allowed to own or operate a business for the next 3 years, then I may have to work somewhere. Ultimately, I want to be back with Blackstone Labs in 3 years for sure. And I'm counting on those guys to, handle it while I'm gone, and be okay. And you had listed just now a bunch of things that I can do. I can tell you what you'll definitely see from me is more social media. I was not allowed on home confinement to be on social media at all. And now that I'm on probation, I could have been on more, but the attorneys said they felt it would be wise for me to not be doing anything that could look like marketing or representation for Blackstone. They don't want to give the government any ammo to shoot me down. But now that that's out of the way, I'm going to be doing my cardio Q&As every day. Anybody that's interested in podcasts, of course, I'm going to take those opportunities. I guess there's a saying that they tell you in prison, the world is your oyster when you get out of here if you approach it the right way. So that's just the mindset that I'm going to have.
And it sounds like you've got a great PO. From what
He's
you've told me, it sounds like you got a
very
good one.
kind. He's very kind. He still works for the government, but
Well, yeah, of course.
he's very
But
kind so far. Yeah.
this is a really stupid question because, I mean, I think everybody knows the answer, but given all the conditions on your release, the halfway house, all the hoops you have to jump, the bullshit, you can't say this, but I can say it's the bullshit decisions some of these judges come out with. Is it, in other words, if you have this on one side or going or staying in, obviously, right, freedom is still the best, right?
Freedom, losing freedom and gaining it back completely changed my perspective of everything in life, because even if you get yourself in a good rhythm in prison, which because of bodybuilding, I was able to get in a good routine in prison. Like I've been regimented in a routine my entire life. And so once I got into prison, I got into my routine that worked for me. The worst part was just not being with Marissa. That was by far the worst part. I was able to manage the rest of it. So any extra days away from her are extra days that I had to deal with like a broken heart. So the last day in prison, knowing I was going to be back with her, no matter what the world threw at me, it was a blessing, and I've been felt like that every day since I've been out. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, prison sounded like no cakewalk. I don't know if it was quite, because Wes Watson describes it a certain way. I don't know if you were quite at that level. I hope not.
well,
But I
he
mean,
was in a California state penitentiary. That's gangland in there. That's gangland. So I was not in a place like that.
right,
Fortunately, there was no gangs where I was. I did have to go for a few months through some places that I wish I did not have to go through. I had to go into two different county jails. One of them was a detox for a week that I should not have been
right,
in. Then
right.
I got thrown up on a bus, shackled up on a bus, taken to the detention center in Miami where I was on 23-hour a day lockdowns. And then I got out for a shower and a 7-minute phone call. I did that for like 38 days. And then I actually had to go to the SHU, which is solitary housing, because I tested positive for COVID. And uh, getting COVID in prison is the worst because you don't get any medical treatment at all. They just take you and they throw you in the SHU. The SHU is where people who are punished go. You know what I mean? So you don't want to be there. You're just left by yourself sick. So I was in the SHU for 2 weeks, then moved back out. And then once I finally got out of there, I got shackled up on another bus and they took me to the oldest prison in the United States for holding, which is the Atlanta State Penitentiary over there. And that place is a dump. And I was only allowed out 3 times a week for 15 minutes.
Jeez.
So, this was because there was a lot of lockdown during COVID. So I spent a lot of time in a cell, just you and your cellie. You hope to get your hands on some books. I had a Bible in the beginning that I just read because that was all I had too. And by the time I got to the camp and had the freedom to move around and do programs and get a job, it was such a relief by the time I got there.
Good Lord. I mean, I mean, so, but even still, though, like certain things like from the Wes Watson world still sort of apply to you. I mean, allegedly, right? Like with that haircut story I heard
Yeah.
about. I
It's
mean,
just, prison is very racially separated. That's just the way it is. So it doesn't matter where you're at, what level you're at. It gets worse as you go up. Like when you're in the pen and the mediums and things like that, it's a lot more separated. There were no cars where I was at, but when you go out to the yard, you're gonna see the race division and things can get messy really quick. Fortunately, where I was, there was a major no violence policy at the camp. Like if you put one hand on somebody, you were shipped out of there. And there was a lot of guards there. And nobody really wanted to deal with that because the camp, you had guys that had been working good behavior 10, 11, 12 years to get to that camp. And then you had guys that were, short time, white collar guys that didn't want any problem, just wanted to get out. So there really wasn't too many incidents like that. I had one situation, I've told a story before in the beginning over a haircut that I learned my lesson big time.
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly,
Yeah.
yes. And, after that, it was pretty. I had one, we'll just call her an officer who had it out for me the whole entire time. That made my time very, very rough there. But I was always extremely polite, didn't give her any reason to write me up. And, I made it through. So,
And I mean, it sounds to you from I've seen other podcasts. It sounds like the CEOs more or less were nice to you, and I thought it was funny. I mean, no offense, but I thought it was funny how like your fellow inmates couldn't believe you were actually in there for what you were in there for. I mean, I still think I'm perplexed by the fact our government spends money on prosecutions like that, but it is what it is.
mhm.
I did want to say something really quickly about your dad. Um, so I was running the Blackstone Labs Legion until like a week after you had gone away, and he explained to me, that y'all wanted to give Jen more hours and why you wanted to do that. And he was so awesome with me. And for like 2 years later, I mean, I got Iron Mac Labs title sponsorship, so I'm not going to get Blackstone products. I mean, I think that's shitty. But every month, anything I wanted, he would send me. He was such a gentleman, such a
Yeah.
class act. Your dad, Billy, the whole team, the whole team there, just phenomenal people.
Yeah, everybody at Blackstone Lab is their family to me. So no matter what, I'll always be a part of Blackstone Labs in spirit.
Yeah,
I feel very confident that in 3 years I'll be able to go back there, and who knows, perhaps there's some miracle that God is going to perform that I can get back there sooner. But the one thing that everybody says about my dad is how nice he
super
is. So he
nice.
always wants to make sure that everybody is taken care of. I mean, just the situation with Jen, you know, she essentially, me going to prison meant she had no job because she was my assistant. So how do you be assistant for somebody that's in prison? So,
Right, in
we
spirit.
tried to create stuff for her to keep her there. So
So have you thought about, again, I don't know if you ever do, I mean, because I want you to be involved in bodybuilding for my own selfish reasons. I want to see you around, but I mean, there's just so much within bodybuilding that you could do. I don't know, like you could reach out to Palumbo, or you could reach out to Generation Iron. You could do what Flex Wheeler does or Chris Cormier does. You could have podcasts. I mean, you could MC shows like Bob Chick. I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, I hope, I think you're going to try to stay in bodybuilding,
oh
right?
yeah, I don't want to leave. I mean, bodybuilding is what I love. I mean, one of the things that was a blessing about prison is that because of the pressure of the trial, right? It's very hard to articulate what it feels like every day, knowing you're fighting for your life. Basically, you're fighting for your future against the government, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's much different. Like, let's say I was selling cocaine, right? I know the rules. I know if I'm selling this much, I'm going to get this much time. But with my situation, because there wasn't any ban on what I was selling, it came down to me thinking I'm going to win because I'm not breaking the law versus them having to prove that. So the stress of that the entire time, it was just a heavy weight on my back. And so I started kind of just not going to the gym as intense. I'd still go to the gym, but I'd cut some stuff short, or maybe I'd just go through the motions. And, um, I was kind of just going in there just to say that I was going in there. And once I got to prison and all that was behind me, I figured to myself, well, I'm just going to work out like crazy. But there was no weights in prison. So basically, I figured out how I could train with pillowcases, a milk crate, and a broomstick. And I would create basically like kettlebells with my pillowcases filled with rocks and sand. And I could do stuff with a bar with the milk crate. And I got like really, really back into bodybuilding. And so because I didn't have really weight to use and I had to do more reps, I mean, I would just train for like 90 minutes every morning, just set after set after set, like I was training for the Olympia. You know what I mean? Like the guards thought I was nuts because I was out there every morning as soon as the yard would open. But all I could think about was, man, I can't wait to get back in the gym. So since I've been back, just being in the gym has been so fun for me. And I had really lost that, the last 10 years or so.
Definitely, definitely. I'm sure you've already talked about this in another podcast or whatever this is, but I did want to say that I'm real happy you and Sammy, like, that was good.
Thank you.
Really
Yeah,
good.
Sammy was like a brother to me. There were a couple guys that I had fallouts with before I went to prison. Sammy was a big one because he and I were so tight. Another one was Joe Reiser. Keon and I had a bad fallout, and when I got home, I wrote Keon right away. Told him how happy I was that he won the Olympia, how proud I was of him. I said, I don't expect to hear back from you. I just want you to know that. And he actually did. He did send me a message back, which I thought was really good.
Good.
Like I don't I don't want to have any anger or hate inside me. I left all that in prison. I have no room for it now. So I got nothing but love to give.
That's amazing. And I think just going to ask you a couple more because I think you got to go soon, right? But I hate to backtrack after that, but I think, like you said, like you were going to trial and everything. You were putting on a very, very brave front, and you were really, really. I mean, when I went down there, your VP, I could tell was really petrified, but whatever.
Yeah.
But you were really putting on a strong front. But even before the indictment, you kind of knew, right, that you like there was something in the air, right? Like you, or no?
No, because people always say that they knew. like when I did Dennis James' podcast, he said they knew that we were going to get raided, and it blindsided me. I had no idea because we weren't doing anything wrong.
Right.
I thought maybe it was over 1,3-dimethyladenine because we had it in a pre-workout, and there was a lot of issues with that at the time, but that's not even what it was over. So it was really, really wild to see.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess the last question, people are gonna be like, why are you asking him this? This is so like, but I'm just curious from a personal note. I remember before you went away, and I hope you don't mind me putting your business out here, but you used to get a lot of IV drips and you used to do like a lot of studies because there was like stuff, I think more like GI wise that were a lot of ifs, questions. And I'm sure you didn't have any of that in prison, right? You didn't have any kind of like
No.
treatment for that. So what was that like? I mean, did you assimilate? Plus prison food must be awful, right? I mean,
Yeah. So, leading up to prison, I'll give you a couple of different angles. Angle number one is I live my life optimized on hormones, right? So testosterone, growth hormone, and then let's get into like the really particular stuff, the IV therapies. I had ozone therapy, all these things that I was doing, my, glucose disposal agent to optimize everything that was going into my body. And I had really gotten into that because I had gotten so sick for a little while, and doctors couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And they finally they diagnosed me with chronic active Epstein-Barr, which kept on making me get mono, basically.
mm-hmm.
And so that is triggered by stress. So I was like, how am I going to stop getting this happening? So once I got to prison, they said, you can't be on testosterone, you can't be on, because I was on lorazepam, you can't be on this, you can't be on that, and you're not going to eat good food. So my body went through quite, a transition, and I was extremely tired and sore all the time, and I gained a lot of fat when I was in prison. When I got out, my blood work was very bad. It was the worst it's ever been. And I'm talking, I've had blood work done literally the week after a show when I'm on the most gear ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was better than what it looked like when I got out of prison being off for 2 years.
And mentally too. I mean, that must have been very trying as well. I mean, all sorts of like, right?
Yeah, I would say the first month I experienced just a lot of depression anyway, just being away from my family and Marissa and just sitting in a cell all day is depressing. But I could feel that I had issues going on with my hormones. Now, I will tell you that Paxil was a blessing for me. My partner, Jared, is actually the one who introduced me to it. He said, talk to your doctor about Paxil, because I was having major issues with panic attacks for years. And so, because he said they're not going to let you be on Xanax or lorazepam in prison, which is true. So I got on the Paxil, and once I got into the prison, they decided to put me on 40 milligrams of Paxil. So I was on 40 milligrams of Paxil for really the majority of my prison sentence, but I had done so much programming, like RDAP and psychological programming, that my way of thinking changed so much. Shout out to my boy Franco that's in here right now. I can't say where I know him from, but I'm sure you all can figure it out. So by the time I was ready to come home, I asked the prison psychiatrist if I could start getting off the medication because I felt like I didn't need it anymore. So we tapered my dose down to the lowest dose, and then she said, why don't you stay on this for at least the halfway house, because it's going to be a big transition for you. And then once I got out of the halfway house, the prison psychiatrist that was assigned to me, I said, I'd really like to be off the Paxil. And so I've been off all medication now, since the beginning of March. So
That's amazing. And your skin looks really good. I mean, you look very, very healthy. So that's good. And
thank
your
you.
training and everything's great. So it's 6:30. So I think it might be
Did I
a
miss
good
any
time.
questions?
Oh, let's see. I was gonna go through that. I don't want Marissa to get mad. Let me.
I wasn't really reading them because you were, me and you were so engaged. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
listening
I'm
to you. So
hogging you all to myself. Um, I want to give a big shout out to Rudog. Rudog's amazing, man. So
Brewdog has
supportive
been
of you.
phenomenal. He's been super loyal to the brand. There are some people that have been so loyal to Blackstone, like on the athlete side. Brewdog, um, Rocco has been great the whole time.
Shredded as
Kristen,
fuck too, right?
oh yeah, he
Shredded as
made some great
fuck.
improvements. Kristen and Chris Graham, I always talk about. They've been ride or die for me. You know, so it's nice to see that some of the people have stuck around so well. I do want to make a point to say this because a lot of people talk trash about him. But Nick Trigili was a true friend to me. He reached out to Marissa to see if she was okay all the time. He put money on my books.
That's cool.
He was a good friend to me this entire time. So a lot of people disappeared. A lot of people disappeared.
I tried to get on your list, but Jen said, I mean, I think there's only like a certain number of people that you get on. I was
Yeah,
able to
so
contact Rob a
you're
little bit.
allowed 30 people, and that's including all your lawyers and everything else. So it's really like
Yeah.
20. So it was very small. And then they were very, I'll tell you this because you're going to think it's funny. They were very, very concerned about giving people the address to the prison because I have so many like trolls because of Genova over the years. And we didn't know what people would send me. And sure enough, I got like a gay magazine sent to the prison,
Nice. That
which you can't get any pornographic stuff sent. So that,
nothing against gay people, by the way. It's just you're not gay,
yeah,
so it, you know.
A,
Yeah.
I'm not gay, and B, you
Right.
can't send pornographic stuff. So the guards were like giving me a hard time. They're like, "Why do you have this? Who's sending you this?" And I'm like, "I really don't know." You know, so that was a big reason. Somebody sent me a box of protein bars. You can't get stuff like that. Like
Right.
they were trying.
And
You
what
know,
happened? What
so,
happens to that? So the guards eat it or something, or like?
yeah, I think they just keep it for
Yeah, it's like
themselves.
when
Yeah.
the cops stop you with weed. I've heard. GK Fit, what's up? John Benavides, John, you know, super loyal. Let's see, Kaji Gus, what's up? What is GK? Missed this morning's Q&A, but he'll be on there tomorrow, I hope, right?
Yeah, I'll be on every day, 9 o'clock. Yep.
John Mancini, that guy bleeds Blackstone. Like, let's
Oh, and
see.
I think he's got my dad's personal phone number actually.
Oh, nice, nice. And did Jason ask you for a drone or anything when you saw him, or was it just
He asked
camaraderie?
for the first day seeing him.
Yeah.
It was good to see him. We met up, and he said, "I would like to talk to you about my birthday and getting me a gift for my birthday." And I said, "Jason, I just got out of prison. I lost everything. I have no money." And he's like, "Well, my birthday is not until February." And
You have time to save.
I was like, "It's 11 months away." And he was like, "Well, it gives you time to put
Yeah.
aside." And I was like, "Well, what are we talking here?" He's like, I would like a coin in the $2,000 range. And I was like, $2,000?
Fuck yeah, that's crazy. Just give me his Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, the unofficial boss man, GK Fit. Let's see, a lot of people came in.
One thing I think people will think is interesting is so in prison, right? I was still allowed to write for muscular development.
Yeah.
And so they would send me a copy of it every month.
Mhm.
So once that magazine started making its way around the
Oh,
compound,
okay.
people were reading it and being like, "Wait a minute, he's talking about what's going on here." And so guys would come up to me and be like, "This is you, this is you," and I'd be like, they'd be like, "You don't look like that anymore." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, those are my competing
Back in the
days."
old
But
days. Yeah.
I became kind of almost like like a pseudo celebrity in certain ways, and it was nice. Like being big, like in prison, I found I think a lot of it is the way I carry myself because I'm kind of a gentle giant anyway. But I had a lot of respect. Like a lot of people wanted to talk to me about working out and dieting, and I had a lot of information to share. And so even the guards, most of the guards were into working out, which was cool. So they were like always. My first day there, a guy saw me. Right, I'm in mainline, and he's like, "What's your name?" And I was like, PJ, I mean, Philip Braun. He's like, "I knew it. Blackstone Labs, I followed your whole case." And he's like, "Man, you guys do good stuff, whatever." And so that particular guard, he was named after a very famous reindeer. He was like the most feared guard on the compound. But I was like, "He's so cool. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Man, he must like you because of the bodybuilding stuff, because he's really into working out." Same thing with one of the main lieutenants. I got called to the lieutenant's office over something, and he was like, "PJ fucking Braun, is that my compound?" And he turned the computer and he had Googled my name, and he was showing the other lieutenants, and they were like, same thing. They're like, "You don't look like that anymore." And I'm like, "I
Which you will
know."
again soon. Yeah. Definitely. Greg says, "Hope I didn't talk your ear off with my 8-page letter. Should have sent a book."
No,
That's cool,
it's
man.
nice to get it. It's great to get letters in there. So
Definitely. LA Fit Mark, man. Relentless. Always
yes, he's
posting.
been
Amazing.
fantastic.
Let's see. Why was there smoke in the halfway house? Not sure what that
Man,
means.
they let them smoke inside. It's
Oh,
crazy.
okay. That's crazy. Get Big Run Fitness on. Don't know who that is. Evening, John.
Franco.
Well, they want to know when you're collaborating with Genova. I think you just did, didn't you?
Yeah,
Or no?
I just did something with him again. There's a guy who's taking some of the videos
Hmm.
and kind of like remixing them on
Okay.
YouTube, and they're incredible. Actually, Coach K sent me one
I
the
love
other
seeing
day.
her.
Yeah,
I love seeing her.
there's the guy is making the videos so funny. I hope he keeps doing it.
And I hope,
So,
and this guy may have some competition with the real Chris Braun. I hope he starts doing those too. He's
Chris Braun's
wickedly talented.
a legend.
Yeah, legend, absolutely. My business partner took me. What? My business partner took the. I don't know what that's right.
Transformix, yes, that's who it is. That those videos are awesome.
Cool. And oh, most famous mini me also super loyal. My lifestyle, you do your time, respect for doing the right thing. Yeah, man. I mean, I know you're super gracious about, like, not gracious, forgiving, really, about all these other people. I think that's awesome. But I mean, something really needs to be said about you, because your former business partner got out way before you did, like way before you did. But anyways, it's really huge of you to think that way about the fact that he has kids. Such a kind mindset, says somebody. Let's see what else. And Marissa says she's proud of you. She loves you. And that's the thing, too. I mean, Marissa really stood by your side the whole way through, because I know that
Yeah.
a lot of times people go to prison, like in the movies, and their significant others are
Yeah.
gone by the time, like, halfway through their stretch, right?
Yeah, they basically will tell you if you're going to be in there for more than 2 years,
Yeah.
it's like 99% you're not going to have a partner when you get out, and you know there are guys that get left faster than that, but she stayed by my side no matter what. She came to visit me every month, every 3 weeks, really. We wrote each other every week. She held it down for me out here. She took care of everything out here. Like, honestly, like, I couldn't have been in a better situation in prison, like, if it wasn't for her. Like, she made sure that I never had to worry about anything. She handled everything, and I feel like I'll forever be paying her back for that. But that's part of what a good relationship is what we mean to each other. So I have the rest of my life to make it up for her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a little bit of trolling there. What would this be without trolling, though, PJ? I mean, what would this be without
No,
trolling?
I love the trolling.
But I
I,
can't get over. Go
I
ahead.
just read this comment by PJ Braun. Just want to say you've been missed. The honor you've displayed is huge in society. Thank you. I've been told now more than once since I've been home that um, the powers that be in the industry really respect the way that I kept my mouth shut and did my time, and that matters. So we'll see. I did my time the way I felt was the right way to do it. And um, I don't judge anybody else, but that's just the way I wanted to be. I was the one that got myself in the situation that I got myself in. I'm not going to get anybody else involved. I'm still not going to get anybody else. I don't want to see anybody have to go through what I went through. So like I said, I don't hold any grudges against any of the other people that are involved. I can't speak what was going on inside their minds and their hearts, and I'm just blessed to be home.
Now, have you done anything with Palumbo yet?
I spoke to Palumbo actually a lot when I first got home because he had gone through prison, so he wanted to see how things were and this and that, and we talked quite a bit about personal things, and I'd
Yeah.
like to get on his podcast. I had court stuff last week, so hopefully soon I will. I think people are going to really enjoy the Generation Iron one because Vlad asked some like serious questions. So, they're definitely going to get all their answers on that.
Yeah, John says, just want to say you've been missed. The honor you've displayed is huge in a society that's forgotten what it means. And I got to say also to the people, I know, don't want to talk about Blackstone, but to the people that are no longer in the Legion, as hard as loyal as they are, man, it just was not the same without you. It just was not the same without you. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, but I know that we can't really go there, but I just want to say these people, whether they're in the Legion or not, are loyal to the absolute core to you.
Yeah, and to everybody, I mean this. Anyone who left, I probably would have left too. Seriously, it's just the way that I did things is just a lot different, And I see, like, when I got back, the way I saw things were, I was like, man, it's a lot different around here. So, like I said, I would have probably left that situation too. I lost an employee who I love. I mean, he's like a little brother to me. I never thought he would leave, and that's Corey, who was one of my sales guys in the
Oh,
call
he
center,
left? I didn't know that.
and he I kept on telling him, just wait till I get back, man. I'll just wait till I get back. He wanted to do more. He wanted to help the company more, but not to just throw it on my dad. It's just that he just doesn't communicate the way that I do, and so that was really missing. And he got a great opportunity with a distribution company, and he took it. See, if I was home, and it doesn't matter to say this, so I would have said, pay that man, because he's a beast, he's a hustler, and we need guys like that. And now he's out thriving at another company. That broke my heart, because he'd been with me for 7 years or something like that. I watched him grow up. So, but I told him, I said, man, seeing how it is, I don't fault you. I don't have any hard feelings. You're a young man making a future for himself, and
Absolutely.
I really have no anger towards anyone over it. So
Yeah. And again, I'm going to just read some more comments. And again, I don't know like who can take credit for this or not, but I just want to say I'm very happy to see Justin O'Donnell in a Blackstone Labs t-shirt again.
yes, I'm very, very happy to see that too. I'm not allowed to
Right,
talk about
right.
Blackstone
I'm just
Labs or
saying
this and that,
whoever, I'm just happy to see that. See, PJ's a true stand-up guy. Marissa's definitely a keeper. Absolutely. I've had the highest respect for you from day one, says Omni Muscle. Omni Muscle, man, like, I mean, just relentless posting and just, just amazing. And again, there's posting for Blackstone, there's a posting for PJ, free PJ, loyalty is everything. I mean, these things. And again, somebody, Sarah the Strong had mentioned a BPJ. You can do BPJ. I mean, that's, there's no
yeah,
Blackstone
no,
in that.
I'm gonna come up with a few things. I'm gonna probably bring my podcast back, because that's something that I really enjoy doing a lot. So I would expect to see that back pretty soon. It'll be under a different name now, but um, I'm gonna figure out exactly what I can legally do. So I
Absolutely.
may even take a shot at filing for clemency, because I got nothing else to lose. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's 6:43.
yeah,
So I think you have to be
thank you
somewhere at 7.
for paying attention to that. So
Yeah, but I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much. I hope we could do this again sometime. I mean, you're just absolutely killing it. Sky's the limit for you. I mean, honestly, and now you don't have that case to think about anymore.
mhm.
So it's all up from here,
Thank,
man.
thank you, and thank you to everybody that jumped in and asked questions and whatnot. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Christian. God bless you guys, everybody.
All right, brother. Take
Take care.
care. All right.